things I think are very critical. One is having an open mind and creating trust. The book is about leadership. And leadership has got two components in my view. One is it's a critical component of any organization. Whether that organization is a corporate organization, political organization, family organization, non-profit organization, social organization. So leadership is critical and we all know that. I don't have to labor upon it. If there is a good leadership, what happens to the organization? If there's bad leadership, what happens to the organization? So the personality of the organization actually comes from the personality of the leader who's been there for a long time. And therefore, leadership is very critical to any organization, any collection of human beings, if I may say so. And number two is leadership is contextual. If there is a situation, then you need to have a certain kind of leadership. And we all know in our careers, when things go down, you need a different kind of leadership who's very tough, very this thing. When things are going steadily, you need a growth leader. It's a different mindset. So somebody who's down in the valley has a different mindset. So when you want to go climb a mountain, you need a different kind of leadership. We have all done that. And we also know that in organizations, leaderships change 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. But here what I'm talking about is not leadership changes in 5 years, 6 years. What should be the leadership for the next 100 years? Next 150 years, that's what I'm talking about. And why is that? Because actually, let me go back. Because we all know that corporates have a big, oversized, I would say, impact on the society. But corporates are only about 250 years old. We don't realize that. Corporates are only 250 years old. And I have, out of this, 1/4 of my experience has been in that, 60 years, 70 years in that. So, why 250 years old? Because what happened earlier was, there used to be local, skills, trades, all that were there, and things used to be made in small numbers, used to be consumed in a localized area. But then came Industrial Revolution. As we all know that 11th and 12th century, India and China accounted for most of the world trade, nearly 60% of it. Then came Renaissance, 15th, 16th century in Europe, starting from Italy. And that gave people, broadened people's mind. It made people think outside box. It made people think, where is the excellence? How to go far? And we are aware of things like music and art and painting and all that. Huge amount of excellence was created that time. Also at that moment, many other things of scientific discoveries were made. This was followed by Industrial Revolution in UK, as you know, in 18th and 19th century. Mid-18th century, James Watt, steam engine. Mid-19th century, Faraday electricity. They changed the whole dynamics. What did they do? You could produce more in hundreds and thousands and millions. What could be done in number 10 numbers or 20 numbers. Another is you could send it off away in a short period of time. You know, although Silk Route was there, but to go from one place to another place, it would take months. And you would go on horses, you go on various other, these kind of things. But what Industrial Revolution did was, it separated the place of consumption from place of production. And that, if you look deeply, is a mind-blowing change. And because that change, I could produce at one place so much, and I could send it off to another place. And that began to create need for an organization. Organization, because you don't know people around, because people have to be, larger number of people have to be there, organizations have to be there. So what did they have in front of them? They had three examples in front of them. What were these three examples? One was, of course, the royalty. How royalty was governed, how administration was done, number one. Number two is military. But military and royalty were more or less two faces of the same coin. Because military gave way to royalty. If I won the war, if I got the kingdom, then I became the king. And therefore, in military, what should be there? And the third was the religion, Catholic religion at that point in time. So, all these had their own structures, or they had own this thing. But I feel, that's my presumption, I feel that because the military was the most, I would say, specific one, more precise one, therefore they went for that kind of thing. Now, to understand military, we need to go not 250 years ago, 2,500 years ago, if I may say so. Let's go to Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great became the Great because he became king at the age of 20 and he conquered, he created the largest ever transcontinental empire at the age of 30. And as you know, he died at the age of 33. He had come right at the edge of India. He went back for various reasons. I won't go into that. But what did he have that? What is the context at that point in time? So if you think back, what was the context? They had swords. If you have swords, what do you do? I can only fight with you. I had javelin, I could throw only so much. Or I had horses, I could go. These are three important things that they had. In that context, you had to lead from the front. There was no other option. You had to lead from the front. You had to show to your troops physically that, oh, you are a great warrior. You are an intelligent warrior. You can go around. You can do strategizing. You can do this thing. You can do that. And you know, why is he called great? Because he never lost a battle. Alexander never lost a battle. That is why he's called Alexander the Great. So in that context, it was leading from the front. And that was a great thing. And of course, it was followed by Roman Empire and other people, even one can say Napoleon. So leading from the front was the norm. And it was doing wonderfully well. But what's happened to military today? We are seeing Ukraine war, we are seeing other wars. Do you think the general is right in the front? Is he fighting? Is he showing to the troops how brave he is? No. The war is being fought in Moscow or Kyiv or Washington or wherever it is. So military has already changed into leading from the back in a way we don't realize it. But it's a hybrid model. Why I'm saying hybrid model? Because it is continued to have the rigid hierarchical structure. It is slow to change into that. And therefore, but military has shown the way. So corporates saw this and they followed this thing. But I must say, dare say that corporates have been slow to change. Because things have changed. The context has changed now. What is the change in context? So corporates and capitalism have gone hand in hand, as you know. But two things have happened. One is men have been made into machines. Earlier, men used to be men. Now men are machines, they are numbers. And you only want productivity. I believe now we have reached a limit. It's very difficult to, as you know, of Taylor's famous study of time motion study. From there it started, all that kind of thing, because the time has been very important. And then it went on. Now it's no more. Number two ill which has got is, it's become single-minded, focused on money. Means money is the everything. Corporates are living only for money, without consideration for other stakeholders. And that has brought number of ills. I don't want to go into that. Number of ills. And therefore, there is a need to change that style, that mode of leadership, because it's no more working. Number two is that if you look at the external things which are happening, one is uncertainty and unpredictability, especially in the last 2 decades or 3 decades. Uncertainty and unpredictability has been so humongous that it is impossible. In our times, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we could say, okay, in 5 years, this is likely to be the trend, this is likely to be the market, this is likely to be this, and we were more or less correct. Today, you can't say that. You can't even say 2 years. What is going to be there? So much of uncertainty and predictability which has come in the system, in the environment, it is becoming impossible to in fact think whether it's technological change, ecological changes, or leadership changes, or geopolitical changes. So too much of uncertainty, unpredictability is impossible for one guy to be this thing. So you need now an organization which is very kind of quick to anticipate, quick to respond, quick to this thing. Other is that humongous amount of data has come. I mean, what data is coming today is mind-boggling. There's a professor in MIT, Ray Kurzweil, who's also senior advisor to Google. He said a few years ago that, in fact, he said a few years ago that the rate of progress is doubling every decade. That means a century of progress can be condensed at today's rate in a month. Please try to understand. A century of progress can be condensed in a month at today's rate of progress. That was before all this chat GPT and all these came. Now you can say it can be condensed in a week. Maybe day after tomorrow it can be condensed in a month. So it's impossible for one guy to be in charge of all that. So you can't have a rigid hierarchical structure. You need to have both ability to respond fast. You need to have distributed leadership where you need to have people with knowledge. It's impossible for one guy to have the knowledge. And therefore, you need to have people with a lot of knowledge. And it has to be a distributed, collective kind of leadership. It is important. But what we have is today that leading from the front, unfortunately, that person signifies very egoistic. He becomes egoistic. He is full of himself, as he's just mentioned. Is a highway or my way or highway type of person. He has a coterie of people, and therefore it is becoming impossible for that kind of leadership is not working anymore at all. It's getting totally broken. And we have somehow suffered through this, you can say, partly our fault. But today's millennials, if you talk to millennials today, and mind you, I've been last 3 or 4 months, I've been to 40 universities, top-notch universities and this thing, in India and abroad, everywhere. And I posed this question, and the answer is unequivocally that we are not going to be living under this kind of leadership. So the signs are very clear that that kind of leadership is no more going to be there, and therefore we need to have a different kind of leadership. A leadership which, in my view, is another one. And so I'm proposing another one which is called leading from the back. It's a label. You might think of anything else, but it is not leading from the front. And some of the points, so what one is trying to do, going over my past 50 years, is to concentrate the learnings and put them in a structured form is what it is. It's a simple story. So it's not kind of academic book. It's not this thing, even a management book. It is not what I have done, as he mentioned, but it is story of a person, how he was successful and he finds that it's no more successful, and how he can continue to be successful. He needs to change his style and this thing. That's what it is all about. So I fervently hope that this kind of thing is there. It's not that it is not being practiced, it is being practiced. But the leading from the front guy is there up front in all magazines, also we know about him. But leading front guy doesn't want to be there, and therefore we don't know about it. I mean, that's really the dilemma or challenge.
To everyone, let me tell you, the two co-authors of this book are one of the two most accomplished authors, Harry Paul and Ross Reck. They both are one of the topmost management authors in the world. When they agreed to work with him, they only interacted over Zoom. And so much so that actually brought the curiosity that Ashish had a question for the first time from me, which I thought, Ashish, you should ask, which is about the leading from the front and the back between the three authors as well. Why don't you ask that?
Okay. Firstly, let me just clarify a few things. Though he said, I'm an accomplished from Airbus, etc., but I'm here to say that the leaders over here, these are the leaders, I'm the follower. So I am going to give you a perspective of what it means to be following a person who is leading, right? Okay, so please don't misunderstand, I'm no big leader. The question that came up to my head while reading this book is, you had two more people writing it. Was there a point in time where there was a conflict about a certain point or a certain topic over there and how you wanted to address. And the three had a different viewpoint. How did you manage to get over it?
Actually, we have never met each other. It's all over Zoom and email, as he mentioned. So if you go through the book, what does it say in the first one? Have an open mind. Have an open mind. So if all three of us have an open mind, to be able to receptive to each other's this thing, things become much better, simpler. So that's the starting point. Then second point is there, take ownership. It so happens that all three of us believed in the philosophy. And we took ownership that we are going to make it happen. And third is be detached. And we were all very detached. We said, it's not for us. They have also done a lot of things in their lives. I mean, Harry has written a book called Fish, which has sold over 6 million copies. I mean, it's quite amazing. It's a very famous book. And other guys also very famous. So they said, it's not for us now anymore. It is, we are detached with whatever it is. Then you come to the second part. Second part is trust. So there was total trust between the three of us. We had not known each other at all, but total trust amongst each other. That means what they say, what somebody X says, why also? It's not that we don't have opinions. We have different opinions. But if you have an open mind and you have trust, in combination, you can do a lot of things. That's all I can say. A lot of things. Even so much so that many of the names that you'll feature here, they're Indian names. But 75% of the names actually are not given by me. They are given by Harry or Ross. I mean, can you imagine people sitting in California? The Shiv Kundra name is not my name. Not given by me, it's given by those people. So they have given the names. It's so amazing, as you go around. So two things I think are very critical. One is having an open mind and creating trust. And that is the trust deficit is the one which is at the moment is the most acute that the world is facing. Even in geopolitical. I was yesterday having a panel. I was in a panel for a Zoom call, international Zoom call. And people from Germany, Japan, China and all were there. And everybody came to the same conclusion. That trust deficit is the most important deficit the world is facing today in any area of life. And I feel that fake news has become, as more and more this kind of revolution is going on, more and more fake news is coming. We don't know what is good, what is right. Therefore, truth is becoming the most precious commodity in the world today. Because you don't know. And thereby, trust is becoming the most precious commodity in the world today because you don't know what is there and what is not there. So I feel that having an open mind and creating trust are two critical factors where you can do a lot of things which you don't have to kind of go through a difficult or challenging period.
Now coming to you, Sanjeev, and I remember your enthusiasm when we discussed, and I would try to do an open heart surgery here. So I have a tough question for you. The question is very simple. While you are saying, while giving a feedback to someone or even accepting the feedback, you need to have an open mind. Have you encountered a situation yourself or with any colleague that you were working who was just blocked? And how did it work? Tell us a miraculous story around this. It could be your story, it could be about your experience where open-mindedness really helped in opening the person and it became a long-term relationship further.
More to your question, I would say, first of all, for you to break a shell, it is very important that you relate to a person. So, the first thing first is mirror the me. And what is mirroring the me? Mirroring the me is we. If you write me, just practice that and put a mirror and see what do you see. You see we. So the day you mirror the me in you, it becomes we. And then the collective strength of we is immense. There have been many illustrations in writing, but what I would now try to share with you is what I faced myself. Now, when An idea is given. The concept is, it's a my way or a highway, as you said, but try to tell him, there is a way, and the way is on the way. The moment you start telling a person that there's a way and the way is on the way, the receptors gradually open. What Sir said, unless the receptors are open, the ideas will never be taken. And once you've succeeded in doing this, then the second ingredient of it is the feeling that one size fits all, I know everything. No. Just shell that dogma of me means, Sir also used a Hindi phrase, I'll say, Aham Brahmasmi. Nobody is a Brahma here. Nobody is a creator here. We all co-create, we all collaborate, we all co-learn. And we are frienders. We are friends and mentors together. The moment you bring the concept of friender, the thing becomes so soft that it becomes like a cheese and you can walk through. The illustration which I was trying to say is, we had a client, the project which you were talking about, and the client had problems with the Ministry of meeting the targets. There were issues with power outages during summer because coal was not getting transported and this project was to come, and the project was getting delayed. And the only reason project was getting delayed was there was a cash flow issue. Now, the meeting used to be at the level of railway minister, chairman railway board, and no solution used to come. And the problem lied in the stakeholders, and they were called vendors. We just changed the concept. Let's not call them vendors, let's call them partners. And we go to them alongside with the client, and the client agrees to just tell those partners, look, you are partners in our progress, let's work together, let's co-create. And the phrase used by one of the directors of the client was, Bharat Sarkar tumhare paas aayi hai, tumhe paise ki dikkat nahi hogi. And trust me, that was the inflection point. The vendors immediately realized, oh, the government is promising. Today also creditors are there, but today we sit here on the dais with our head held high because we could deliver the project with the same team. So I think Sir had mentioned in the book, the protagonist, Shiv, people are around. Sir has talked about how to deal with tasks and how to deal with team. Are we using them or not? We consider them useless or they are useless. Now, if we consider everyone useless, it doesn't happen. But if we are using them less and then bring them in your team, inclusivity, you will see a sea changed. And I was saying, last week we were felicitated between the 4 leading companies, and I'm not going to name those companies. We are the only ones felicitated by the client for the contribution in this project. And that's a matter of pride for all of us. And that is certainly something which is leadership from the back, which there are many books I read, as he was saying. And Sun Tzu has written a book, The Art of War. He talks about leadership in that book. And in that book, he says, leader is the person who creates self-belief in the team. And once the self-belief is created, knows, goes and shows the way. Nothing else. He need not be front-ending it. And a leader should be a learner. The child in that leader should be still alive. Because when you realize, the more you know, the more you realize how less you know. Or the day you know that you need to learn is the day when you become a successful leader. So this is where, Mohit, I thought things would go forward. Thank you so much.
I think it was extremely, engaging, and I'm so happy to be with you that at least you thought of leading from the back. But again, I go to my guru, Lord Krishna. The entire war of Mahabharata was, won and monitored by him without, a single arrow. And there was a person who was grandson of Bhim. His name was Barbaric. He could win the entire war with one arrow. And therefore, Krishna wanted this war to be fought. and therefore he cut his head by the sword. And at the end, when he was asked that who was fighting the war, who fought it better, now the barbaric, answered that I saw nobody fighting. It was only Krishna this side and that side. So that is, again coming from, leading from the back. You are right that nothing new. And detachment is, I think it is absolutely, you are very right that Westerns will never understand this. Siddhya siddhyo samubhutva samatvam yogam uchyate. So I think there are a lot of things. But only thing coming is, what you say is trust deficit, ethical deficit. The problem is I do not know how you can, sell this concept today. You see the politicians, you see the leaders who make money, the richest men in India, how they become, you know them better. The successful politicians, you know them better. And people who write the corporate ladder, you know better. I don't want to tell about, how you go to the up in the ladder in the educational industry. My friend, Harvanshji knows this better. But my Guru Krishna said is, Yat yat acharti sheshtha tat te vitraha janah sah yat pramanam kurute lokah tat anuvartate. And this is the secret of success of the space mission, wherein, the Satish Dhawan took the responsibility that, I made a mistake. And therefore, and success he gave. So it is yat yat acharti sheshta, whatever, the person at the top do, it is followed by the rest. And this is the secret of success in Tata.
Thank you, sir. This is a brilliant perspective.
And therefore, very difficult to say how people will assimilate this concept in the present context.
Sir, what you are saying is absolutely correct, 101%. But we have two options. Every time human beings have two options. Yes or no. Are you going to accept it? Then you follow it. Or if you have to give the answer, I am not going to accept it, then you have to do something about it. It's like being honest. Do you want to be honest? You don't want to be honest. That is the most difficult decision in life. Yes or no. You want to be honest, you don't want to be honest. But once you've decided, I want to be honest, then you have no choice. Then there will be a lot of things, lot of problems, lot of challenges, and you have to be unwavering on that. But you have to follow that. So this is, I think, an important thing. So if you decide in your mind that I'm not going to accept it, and you begin to start doing something. Let me put it this way. Suppose we are here collected in a room. We decided we are not going to accept this situation. We ourselves are in our own way going to do something about it. What will happen? We multiply this by 10, that gets multiplied by another 10, that gets multiplied by 100. Then you cause revolution. Huh? You come to a critical point, you come to a tipping point, critical mass, wherever, whatever it is, and change the society. That's how changes happen in the society. That I am not accepting. And there are more and more people are coming together and saying, I'm not accepting. That's how revolutions happen. That's where. So everywhere I am going and talking to young kids, millennials, I said, if you are saying you will not accept, then damn well you have to do something about it, because that monolith of leading from the front is not going to change. That is too entrenched in the society. It's not going to change. So you have to demolish it. You have to demolish by rising in revolt. You have to bypass it. You have to chip it. You have to do whatever it is. But you have got to demolish it. You have to cause a revolution.
So first of all, I haven't read the book, so apologies for that. But I get a wind of it, that it has been written from the perspective of an individual's experience and probably carries a philosophy which was narrated in the beginning. I totally agree with that. And we have discussed the whole leadership issues, which has myriads of dimensions through the canvas of mythology, through the canvas of history, through the canvas of experiences. So I would just take one leap a little ahead of what you just said, is what does leadership do eventually, as to where is it coming from? And as you rightly said, today's ages of experience is getting capsuled into smaller frames of time. And hence, today's leadership has to be completely different than what it has been celebrated. So the next thing I would like to do is, how do we really need to celebrate? And you rightly mentioned the example of Mr. Nadella, who probably came from a background, remained in the back, created a value in the organization. So again, example of creating value in the organization in that corridor, there are examples here in India. I'm sure you will relate because it's from your industry. There's a name called Vikram Lal. Vikram Lal. I don't know how many in the audience would know that. Today, the legacy that he created is one of the most valued companies in India.
Yeah, of course.
Not many people even know his face.
Yeah.
Not many people have come across him.
Yeah.
But you see, and there are myriads of other examples. So my question to you, or probably my view on the thing is, how do you create value from a perspective of setting up the dimensions of culture, which obviously brings integrity, honesty, and all that, which we know from that organization I don't want to name, which creates sustainability in terms of even when the guy is not there, and the people he created carry that value system, keep on adding the dimensions of all those aspects, so the value has a multiplier effect to it. So that's my point I thought I'll make. Any views on that?
No, what you're saying is right, sir. I mean, there are a number of organizations, as I mentioned. I mean, Tata Group is one. Vikram Lal's companies are, Eicher is fantastic, this thing. There are many others. Eicher Group is known because Vikram Lal is known a little bit here in this thing. Bombay is not even known. So, there are a number of successful organizations. The problem is we don't know about them. So the question I am therefore struggling with, how can we pick these organizations, how can we, who are buried under the radar, how can we at least tell people not to promote them, but to tell them that, look, this kind of leadership also works and works very successfully. I mean, that is the dilemma. So how do we make it happen? So I'm throwing actually, not a challenge, but an advice to the whole audience here. How can we, if we believe in this, how can we take out those examples and we can start talking about those examples. Those people need not talk about their own thing, but at least other people can start talking about those examples. Can we start a conversation? Can we start a dialogue? Can we start a kind of a thing where more and more people come to know about this, a movement, if I may say so. And that's what I'm hoping and I'm trying to do. As I said, I've had 40 interactions in the last 90 days. I don't have to do it. I don't need either money or fame, and age is not if I meant to disclose my age, I'm 80 years old. Young. Why? I don't have to do it.
No, thank you.
Why should I go and interact with 40 persons? I don't have to do it.
No, I think it's a nice effort.
The fact is, I passionately believe in two things. One is, this is an idea whose time has come. This is an idea whose time has come, definitely. Number two is that as USA has shown the way in creating the contours of leadership of corporate world in the last 200 years, I think India can shape the contours of the leadership of the next 100 years. And that's why, I'm trying and go and talking to people. And I must say the response has been extremely positive. So I'm sowing the seeds everywhere. Somewhere it may get into a plant, it may become a tree, somewhere it will die off, all this. But I'm trying to do my best for it to happen. Thank you. Hi, my name is Ravi Kant. So far I've seen Aerocity passing by, going from airport into town, or vice versa. I always thought it was a collection of hotels, and unless I wanted to stay there, there was no need for me to go inside. But today my whole perception of Aerocity has changed. I've come inside and seen what it is. It's a fantastic experience, and I think more and more people should be attracted or called to this to have the experience. So thank you very much for organizing this.
This was a brilliant interaction that I had over here today, this evening, and in this beautiful Aerocity, which is my second home. And the place is just brilliant. It's a vibrant place that you can come and interact with friends, interact with many of the companies, and have a lovely time during the weekends. More and so that Friends of Books is now having a monthly theme, and they are trying to promote more about learning and be a learner forever. Thank you.
It was my desire to come once, and thankfully it happened today on the introduction of a book from a person whom I have known for many years through the industry. But what really delighted me was the kind of the conversation that took place in a very free and open manner. There are many others present here whom we had known for many years, and happy to get connected to them again. The whole session was done in such an informal way that everybody could speak their mind. Even I could do that, put my views on the philosophy which was a part of the book. Happy to be continuing with this association going forward. Let's see what I can do on this.
But it was indeed a great delight for me to know this place, in fact, and experience this place, in fact, as somewhat which is really touching global standards. And it's no wonder that this is a global hub for a lot of businesses to happen. I was indeed very happy seeing the ambience, the delivery part of it, in fact, in the sense that the people who were managing the show and the event itself, if such like events happen, I'm very sure that this is going to be a great place which will also inbuild not only business alone, but actually help culture and the cultural aspects to help thrive in this place. And it will become a place where people can really come, enjoy and feel themselves, in fact, as much as a part of business world, and also, in fact, contributing a lot, in fact, in understanding the society and the culture part of it. So it was indeed a great experience for me, and I wish it all the success in future to come. Great team, great effort, and great people to meet.